Hello and welcome to the 206. My name is Mark, coming to you from Seattle, Washington, and this is Twitching It Up, a Twitch streamer interview series. Twitch is a streaming platform for gamers, singers, and all kinds of content creators from all over the world. My goal with these interviews is to give some insight into the lives of people who use Twitch as a platform to share their talents and engage with their communities. Now, today, my guest for this episode is a super talented singer, performer, live streamer, songwriter, some might say comedian, and even a peanut butter maker of all things. So all in all, I'm very excited to have the one and only Raquel Lily as part of this interview series. So Raquel, welcome to the 206.
Hey, everybody. Hello. Thanks for having me.
No, thank you for being here. I really appreciate you taking the time. Now, Raquel, you've been live streaming on Twitch for, I guess, about 5 years now. So how did you first discover the platform, and what made you decide to use it as a way to get yourself out there?
So at the time, I was sort of just pursuing music on the side alongside my full-time job. And to kind of cope with stress and all that, I was a huge gamer. I was much more into gaming before I dove really deep into the music world, which is my profession now. But before all that, when I had more free time, I would game for hours and hours and hours and hours. So at some point I got really guilty that I spent so much time gaming. I mean, I'd spend like 5 to 6 hours a day just like playing. and so I'm like, I feel kind of bad that I'm not really working on my craft otherwise. So maybe I can like karaoke and play some FPS games to communicate with people and just to kind of get my music out there and let people know that I'm an artist too. And so it was a way for me to connect to a community in some way that was online based. And that's kind of something that I grew up with, gaming all my life. I mean, I would ditch my real life friends to go home to raid on World of Warcraft and would stay up all night, raid, get the dagger I wanted, and then go to school and then do it all over again. So having an online community was never something foreign to me.
Sure.
So getting on Twitch was very natural. I mean, it felt like I was just hanging out with like new online friends. So how I stumbled on the music community, well, there wasn't one when I started. Back then, there was a very generalized group called Creative. And it was like gaming, there was Creative, and there were all other places that you could kind of stream from. So in Creative, you'd have like sculptors, painters, musicians, anybody that has anything to do with art. And I saw a few cooking channels, and I noticed that there weren't a lot of musicians. So I kind of just by chance, just started streaming Creative. And the very first night I was there, I think I struck gold because I got rated by a huge League of Legends channel. They put like 1,500 people in my channel, and that back then discoverability was really like a lot crazier than it is now. You'd imagine there are less streamers, less creatives like myself. So I really stood out to a lot of gamers that were like, wow, I never knew that this was a thing. So they rated me. I gained a huge following overnight. And ever since then, I kind of just I was like, okay, this can be a thing. Like people are actually way more interested in me playing music and watching me do the thing that I am trying to pursue. Rather than like kind of doing like this half in, half out, like music content / gaming content. So I stuck with it. And ever since then, unbeknownst to me at the time, I was one of the first music streamers. So 5 years fast forward, post pandemic and post music blow up. I was one of the pioneering musicians on the platform.
Oh, that's amazing. And I think you hit the nail on the head there. The pandemic really created a huge opportunity for music to expand on the platform. So kind of, I guess with that in mind, what would you say is the biggest difference overall, whether it's from even just a technical standpoint or just anything that you can think of? What would you say is the biggest difference now compared to when you were first starting as more of a gamer?
Well, there's definitely more of a home for music. Back then, Twitch was really not trying to push anything creative because I imagine that, much of their money, sponsorships, and just like content and audience overall comes from gaming because that's how Twitch established itself. So, but I'd say the main difference is the corporate support that musicians get now versus then, which back then was pretty much nothing. I mean, it's not perfect now, but there's the fact that there's a tab that even just says music is something that's still pretty big in my opinion.
Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah, that wouldn't to have that not exist at all originally to now it's becoming such a bigger part of Twitch. I think that would it makes such a huge difference for you and anybody else coming in to be able to see that as an opportunity, right?
Yeah, and it's a little more welcoming to people who just aren't really gamers and are into the platform because they might have heard somebody talk about a creative side. And if discoverability is a little easier, then I think the chances for the community to grow is a lot greater.
Definitely. Thank you. Now, with all that being said and everything that's evolved and how it's transformed into, like you said, a more welcoming format for music and other types of creatives, what would you say is the biggest challenge for you now as a streamer on Twitch?
So I think the challenges lately have been trying to get out of the mold of like, I'm just a Twitch streamer. I feel like Twitch is a very tight knit ecosphere of content. So if you're not consistent, if you're not going to be on pretty much on a set schedule, it's really hard for you to grow. So one of the things that I find challenging is keeping up with my community on a consistent basis. I used to be a lot more consistent, but I've grown a lot off the platform just in general with like the local music scene here in Miami, touring, opportunities to just pursue my craft, whether it's like production at the studio or I don't know, opportunities that take me elsewhere to different states where I can't really take my stream with me like I used to. So I guess it's a weird problem to have, but just being really busy outside the platform, I feel like is a challenge because the more you are on live on Twitch, the more your community can bond with you, see you, consume your content. So yeah, it's just really hard as a musician because your schedule is kind of all over the place. You can't dictate exactly when shows are going to be. So sometimes that kind of steps on my own schedule, and that's just something I have to deal with.
Sure. But kind of like you were getting to, though, it's a great problem to have in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
but it can still be challenging. Now, you had mentioned that Twitch is kind of its own, ecosphere, forget what the exact word that you use. So it's kind of a contained kind of culture in a way. So do you get, are there, I don't know if I'm phrasing this the right way, but are there any issues that you run into from outside of that when you go to live gigs, and do people kind of pigeonhole you as the Twitch streamer? Are there those misconceptions that way as well?
Yeah, I think it's less about being a Twitch streamer and more of like for instance, when I first kind of stepped in the scene, people are like, oh, she's got a big following online. Like, does she pay for her followers? Like, I've never heard of her. And a lot of people just don't really even know what Twitch is. So like they have all these assumptions as like a person coming into their local scene. And it's like, who is she? Like and it's almost like jarring to them to have somebody come in and like speed run the local music.
Right.
But I'd say within the Twitch sphere and working with Twitch people and going into the real world, I've done a lot of that. Throughout the years, I've played a lot of shows with other musicians and trying to bring about like a community IRL for people, like you to come out while I'm in Seattle, for instance, and for you to come out and interact with me in real life and like see other Twitch people who you might recognize in the channel. The biggest problem for me in that space is I come from the world of music. Like I was a musician, I gigged, I played festivals and, wedding band stuff and gigs and bars, everything in between, open mics. So I'm pretty well versed in like that, the music realm. But when you take people who have just been streaming period and haven't really played, it's like that territory is a little unfamiliar. So when you're trying to set up shows with some of these people, they're like, oh, what's a stage plot? What is an input list, or things that are really basic and rudimentary in the music scene, where it's like, if you play these stages a lot, you'll know what it is. You kind of have to explain these little fine details, but I mean, it's not something you can't learn. It's just a familiarity. Yeah. It's a different community. It's a different stomping ground. And I see a lot of like crossover between like these tech nerds and them being able to figure it out fast. But I find that that's not like, I would assume that every musician on Twitch have played out, but that's not usually the case. It's the other way around, where
Exactly.
they've always been closet musicians and now they're playing in front of an audience.
Yeah. No, that's a really good point that you bring up. So in a way, you almost become a mentor and a teacher in some ways if you're out on tour with somebody who doesn't understand those finer points. And I kind of get the impression that that's not something that you're opposed to, that you're willing to take that on.
Yeah. I mean, it's the more knowledge anyone gets, the merrier everybody gets to be, like
Yeah.
if I could be somebody who could facilitate that and help you grow, like I'm down.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that's one thing I get from just you as your personality and just how you present yourself is you're all about including everybody and having that sense of community. So that makes total sense. So thank you for going into that for a moment. Now, you had mentioned, just a wide variety of performing that you do, different types, and you also have a wide variety of music that's available for people to request on your song list during your streams. Anything from, I've seen Stevie Wonder on there, Ariana Grande, and everything in between as well. So would you say, is there one singer or one band out of all of that would you say has had the biggest influence on who you are as an artist?
Sure. Yeah. I always go to this. It's kind of a cop out a little bit, but I love the Beatles.
Okay.
They were my first love. I
Sure.
think that's who got me into music.
Nice.
And they're just, there's so many different kinds of songs that they've written. So I really love like their versatility. I really look
Yeah.
up to the fact that they were always and still are ahead of their time.
Yeah.
You listen back to something like Sgt. Pepper's and it's like, oh my God, like the fact that this was made in the 60s and you're listening to it now, and there's still things that people to this day are trying to copy or emulate or figure out how they did.
Right.
There's a magic that they captured, and almost like I don't know, it's almost like they were these like philosophers of music, without meaning to be or knowing that that's what they
Sure.
were putting out there. So I kind of strive to be a little bit of that, to transcend just the genre or transcend just the song that I'm trying to put out. At a certain point, the song's not about me anymore, and it's not just for me. And I think about the audience and how it impacts people. But I think the Beatles were very similar, where after a certain point in time, they're like, okay, well, what kind of impact do we want to have? So yeah, you'll see them a lot in my song list. I know way more Beatles songs than I list on my song list.
Oh wow.
But yeah, as far as other musical influences, Stevie Wonder, you mentioned, is huge. He was a big influence in Fixations, the album that I just dropped recently.
Yeah.
So was Bruno Mars, his production. I produce music too, which I've done on stream. So I think my last or my album that I just put out, that was a big reference. Amy Winehouse and a bunch of other jazz musicians like Sarah Vaughan and Astrid Gilberto and a lot of bossa nova. Like that's also very, very influential in my music.
Oh, that's amazing. And what I'm getting out of that too is, to me, it's really impressive just the amount of knowledge that you have about music in general and the different singers and bands that have influenced you. And that really does come across in your music. And, you said you do produce all, if not, or some, if not all of your music as well. And you really have to have that historical base to be able to come up with your own, creativity as well. And you just mentioned Fixations. And of course, you probably saw it back here. I have it right here. There's Fixations right there. Now,
Yeah,
I have this because I was fortunate enough to be on one of your streams, and when you were doing a contest, and I happened to win the contest, and so you sent me this autographed copy of it. So this goes right up here. Everybody sees that during every interview that I do. So
glad.
So happy to have had the good fortune of winning that. But let's talk about the actual album itself. We don't want to talk about me right now. This is about you. Yeah, let's talk about Fixation. So to my opinion, and I'm not just saying this because you and I are having this conversation, but it's just an amazing collection of music all the way around. Obvious, songs like Adieu, Ghost, I'm Leaving, some of my personal favorites. And from what I understand, and you just touched on it very briefly, but it's also a very unique project, as you included your Twitch community in that production process, pretty much from the beginning to the end. So tell me about how you went about that process and what it means for you to produce and then release this collection of songs the way that you did?
Yeah, so I am not signed. I'm an indie artist. So therefore I don't have a label that's kind of telling me what to do or pushing me on any sort of timeline or giving me money to do this. So it's really cool to be an indie artist in today's world because you get to source your funds however you want, whether you want to do a full-time job and raise money that way or ask your community. So that's what I did. Every single cent, every sub, if it's not going towards my food or rent or something like that, it goes completely to my creative process. So I would raise money for the album art, for photo shoots, the photo shoot that essentially landed that album cover was I remember running the donation goal for. So things like that. It's just like I really like to bring my community to everything that I do and everything they help me get to. And that's sort of part of the bargain. Like I took them to the studio when I was recording the whole thing, for instance, and some days we would stream 7+ hours.
Wow.
So, you know, it's a lot of TMI, but if you do want to get close to the artist like that, I give you the opportunity to do so because it is our money. It's not just my money. I know it lands in my account, but I'm very transparent about how I go about handling my donations and my sub goals and all that. So I try and make content out of everything that I do. And I think it's really important to include people because you don't want it to just be, I don't know, like an echo chamber of yes men, of like people surrounding yourself with people who will always agree with you. So it's really cool to bring about like a community that might be like, hey, I think this needs more cowbell. Hey, I think this like lacks energy. And, you know, as much as you want to bring professionals to the field, which is what I do when I bring my band, they helped me track all the instruments and all that. I didn't play every single instrument on there, though I produced it. I can't boast that I played the drums on there, for instance.
Nice.
And so it's good to get like an objective opinion from somebody who's not a professional because they can tell you what sounds good or sounds bad. They might not be able to explain it to you, but that opinion definitely matters. And I think Twitch chat doesn't realize how invaluable that is to somebody like me because, you know, I just kind of trudge through and like do what I think is right. But sometimes you do need some extra opinions and and that can totally facilitate in the creative process overall. So.
I love that. And in so many different ways, people are able to feel included, you know, just in your life, in your music and in your stream. So I love the fact that you're able to really take that deep dive. And it's almost like a real time behind the scenes as it's happening instead of having like a YouTube video after the fact. It's like actually interacting with it and being part of that process. That's amazing. I love that. Yeah, thank you for explaining that. Now, Raquel, you also have another song that you put out even more recently, which I believe you kind of went through that same process as well. It's called Oh Chelsea, you know, which I saw, I looked at your Spotify and it's now over 40,000 listens. So, you know, first of all, congratulations on that. That's amazing.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, no, I love the song. You know, again, I keep saying that, but you know, I'm being honest too. Your music is so good to me, and you know, this song in particular, it has such a great energy. You know, just the vibe to it is just a really fun vibe. So tell me about Oh Chelsea. Like, what does the song mean to you?
So the song is pretty self-explanatory. It's kind of akin to like a. Sorry, I don't know if you heard that desktop noise. Let me start that sentence over.
Sure.
So, Oh Chelsea is kind of akin to like a modern day romance or like a fling. And Chelsea kind of represents, whether it's for my audience or for myself, the person that you're interested in. And it's kind of like a pining, really flirty song. So I kind of wanted to, everything about the song was really well planned out. So the fact that it's only 2.5 minutes long, it's supposed to feel like a short summer fling. And like the vibe of it with like the surfer sounding guitar, I wanted it to sound like a summer song because when I wrote it, that's kind of where I was headspace wise, where it's like, you know, this fleeting romance, this flirty vibe, this like unknown, like you don't know where the ending's going to go, but everything's fast and it's happening just as fast as the song. And it's just as like wild and energetic and like flirty as the song. So yeah, it's based on true events. And I like I said, at a certain point, the song doesn't become just like a personal relic of yours. It becomes for the community. So when I put out Fixations, a lot of those songs are like really deep, very soulful, heavy hitter, emotionally connected songs. And it tells a story about growth and somebody in their young adulthood kind of experiencing fixating on these, these themes of growth. But Oh Chelsea was kind of just like this one-off, and I wanted it to sound like that, and I wanted it to feel different but kind of similar. So I kind of kept that like bossa nova jazz sort of motif that I have in all my songs, like major 7 chords, but also like spin it into like this fresh pop punk, almost like indie pop sort of vibe, because that's sort of different from what I was doing. So yeah, and also lastly, it's when I wrote it, is one of my first very gay experiences, and I feel like it was I don't know, it was a very monumental time for me. So I wanted it to feel as fresh as the experience did for me.
Yeah. No, I love the fact that it's this fun, whimsical, upbeat song, but every single second, every instrument, every note, every word, as you're explaining, has just a ton of meaning to it at the same time, and as you're drawing from your own experiences, that makes me appreciate it even more. And now I want to go back and listen to it and see what I can catch and pull out of that. And speaking of being able to listen to it, now that everybody knows about the song, I think everybody watching this would want to hear you sing the song as well. So if you're willing and ready to do that, now would be a perfect time for you to sing Oh Chelsea.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, it's fired up.
Let's go. So everybody, again, this is Raquel, obviously, singing her latest song, 40,000 plays on Spotify right now, Oh Chelsea. So Raquel, take it away.
You grab the bottle of wine, tell me about the boys in your life. Oh Chelsea, come over and talk with me. You love the curve of my nose, glitter on your chest, I love the way it glows. Oh Chelsea, can't help the way you're stroking me. Don't need to play it shy, come over to my place tonight. Don't have to ask me twice, pretty mama, bring your appetite. Oh Chelsea, wanna hear you scream. Oh Chelsea, come and stay with me. You tell me keep the lights on, baby, I'll do anything that you want. Oh Chelsea, just wanna have another bite. Run my fingers through your bones. Oh, I can have myself when you got nothing on. Oh Chelsea, you gotta make me miss my flight. Your friends are asking why you're disappearing in the Austin city night. A mystery guy. I don't really care if you decide. Oh Chelsea, want you close to me. Oh Chelsea, come and stay with me. Oh Chelsea, wanna hear you scream. Oh Chelsea, be the girl of my dreams. Oh Chelsea, want you close to me. Oh Chelsea, come and stay with me.
Thank you so much. That was fantastic. I love the song. Love hearing you sing it basically virtually right in front of me. And I hope everybody watching is able to enjoy it as much as me. So thank you so much for singing that during this interview.
Yeah, no problem. It's a pleasure.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, as we mentioned before, this interview is about Twitch, so I want to kind of bring it back to that topic, although I could probably talk to you about your music all day long, but let's bring it back to Twitch for at least just a moment here. Now, one thing that stands out to me about your streams, if somebody is sitting there watching, or, over the course of a day, or, watching different streams over the course of a week, is as a viewer, you never really know what to expect from Raquel. So you might be singing, you might be cooking, you might be working on new music, really just anything. Like you talked about some, the making of Fixations as part of that process as well. So overall, not just as far as making your music, but just that overall presentation, is that something that you're really conscious of in getting that type of variety, as well as, specifically the music content?
Well, it's more along the lines of I have ADHD and I can't do the same thing every single day.
Oh no.
Well, Twitch is very much to me like a personal video log, like a vlog. It's like a live vlog. And a lot of the times that's how I want to treat it, or how I want it to feel to people. There's only so many covers that you could play and not talk to your audience to feel completely disconnected, like, and that to me, Twitch isn't about that. I mean, if I want to do that, I would go play at the bar down the road. And Twitch to me is about connecting people and connecting myself to those people. And beyond that, like reaching people globally through maybe like cooking or something universal like music, or even sometimes like taking a walk. I mean, these days it's a little more rare for me to do IRL streams where I'm like walking around a city. But I used to do those a lot. That was a really big chunk of my content. Was when I lived in New York for a while, I would go out into the city and walk aimlessly for hours, and do whatever. But yeah, I think it's important to keep the content fresh feeling for me, because it's easy to feel like clocking in, clocking out, doing the same songs every day. And of course, people also always request songs that they love. So I think because I'm the person creating the content, it's hard for people to remember that, like, oh yeah, she just played this for me yesterday, or like, right, she's not a jukebox. And so keeping the content fresh is a way for me to want to keep doing it and stay engaged.
Oh, I love that, because I actually see that, because I mod for several different people, and I watch a lot of different streams, and I do see that from time to time where you'll get somebody like they absolutely love that one particular song, so every time they happen to come to a particular streamer's stream, they request that song. And I wonder sometimes, I'm like, does the person singing ever get tired of that? And I think you found a great way to avoid anything like that, is to provide more variety on your streams. And another topic that I mentioned it in the introduction was how you make your own peanut butter and you sell it online, you sell it on tour. And I believe the first time that I became aware of that was you did an entire stream of just making the peanut butter as you were getting ready to go on your tour. And for me, it's being able to, because you were basically also having a conversation with chat as well while you were making the peanut butter. And to me, that was really cool. That was a lot of fun. I think partially because it was something different, and also just seeing that process of making peanut butter. I mean, how often do you get to see that, and then get to see it from somebody that you already enjoy watching? So I guess my question with all of that is, how did you start making, like, what was the idea behind making peanut butter in the first place? Like, how did that become a thing?
So no pun intended, I'm a huge nut fanatic. It's like, I don't know. I probably eat too much trail mix for me to like admit openly. And it's one of my favorite snacks. It's one of my go-to snacks, or like peanuts or almonds or pistachios. And growing up, I've always like been really into peanut butter, and I have had phases where like quiet time is at 12 p.m. every day, and I make myself a peanut butter and jelly sandwich, and it's cut exactly like this. And I've always been obsessed with peanut butter in some way. And I go through like these phases in my life where it's like in the form of a sandwich, in the form of banana and peanut butter. So I bought this it's a juicer. I started juicing, and I was reading through the leaflet, and it's like, oh, you can make your own nut butters. And I was like, oh my God. So I stumbled upon making the world's best peanut butter. And I'm not just saying that because I make it, but I kind of hate myself for it because I literally broke myself. Like I can't buy store-bought peanut butter.
Oh no.
Refuse. And I've tried a few times. I've tried to find alternatives. It's just not the same. Like, I'm really big into like culinary stuff. I'm a big food porn person. I love food.
Yeah.
And so when I found this recipe, when I concocted this recipe, it's exactly the way that I want my peanut butter.
Okay.
And it's also sugar-free. Like I feel like you go to the store and they use like really bad oils, like hydrogenated oils. I'm a big science nerd too. So basically hydrogenated oils are bad for you because they basically attach hydrogen molecules onto something that's not supposed to be that hydrogenated. And therefore your body can't really like break it down. And it just like sits there. And in most peanut butters, if you turn the label around, it says hydrogenated corn oil or something. Okay. And it's good. It looks good on the shelf and it keeps the peanut butter from like separating and all these like really aesthetically pleasing qualities about store-bought peanut butter, but just tastes kind of filmy and gross. So I started making my peanut butter out of necessity and just because like I stumbled upon the technique to make it. And I would talk about it so much on stream that somebody's like, yo, you should sell it. And it was just like a joke. It's like, sure. Okay. Well, I have five extra jars. Who wants it? And people started donating. And
oh my gosh.
God, this is like a bidding war now. So I just made it kind of like available as like this memorabilia / like really unique. Whenever I decide to make peanut butter for myself, I always put like a few aside for my community. And I'm like, hey, peanut butter is back on sale. Let me know if you guys want some. And it always immediately sells out because the demand is so high now. I can't even keep up. Like sometimes it stresses me out, but it's cool. It's a cool problem to have. Yeah.
Yeah, it sounds like you have a lot of cool problems over the course of everything that you do. So I guess that's a good thing. So yeah, it's very interesting that, that's yet another thing that comes out of something that you're very passionate about, which is interesting to me because it seems like you're passionate about all kinds of different things. And, evidence of that as I was looking at your about info on your Twitch page, and I see that originally you were born in the Philippines, you were raised in New York. You had mentioned that you had lived in New York for a while, and you have a bachelor's from UC Davis. You can paint, you can draw. It even says you speak Elvish. I mean, Raquel, is there anything you can't do? That's my question for you right now.
I didn't learn how to ride a bike until I was 21.
Really? Oh, wow.
Yeah. Like something that I was really insecure about growing up was the fact that all the kids in the neighborhood have bikes. And I just like, my parents never taught me. Like my parents weren't the kind that like would play with the kids. I think in the Philippines, it's like parents are parents and the children are the children. Whereas like in America, when I moved here, it was like, oh, like kids actually play with their parents and spend time with family. And like, this is like a thing. And, kids are little adults, like kids are treated like little adults and they get asked, what do you want? Instead of here you go, eat it. So it was just like, I was raised really differently. And so that kind of translated into like playtime and like what it meant to be a family and like biking was not my forte because I literally never owned a bike growing up. So UC Davis was the school I graduated from and they boast the most bikes per capita or something like that. And they have more bikes in the city than they do people, which is really cool.
Wow.
And I got into biking again out of necessity because driving on campus was like no cars were allowed on campus. There were parking lots and then like within campus, you could not get anywhere. So I learned how to ride a bike. And it's funny because I love bike riding. Like that's one of my biggest hobbies is like to escape. I just ride my bike. And it's funny that I learned that in my adulthood. But as far as things that I can't do, I don't know. I'm kind of one of those people who just never stops learning. Like if I don't know how to do something, I would go out of my way just to learn it.
Right. No, I love that. And I think that's a lot of the reasons of why you've had as much success as you've had in the things that you're passionate about. So I love that answer. Thank you. Now, having accomplished so much, I feel like anybody who takes on so much and has such a diverse portfolio of just hobbies and careers and everything that you've done, anybody who does that needs people in their life who inspire them to accomplish those type of things. So who is someone that inspires you, that's not necessarily a singer or a streamer, but just maybe just somebody in your life that you see as an inspiration?
Yeah. My brother is a huge inspiration to me. He is also creative and led me down the dark path of the creative world.
Uh-oh.
I was pushed into pursuing medicine and something a little more practical growing up. It's weird. In the Philippines, you really celebrate dance and culture, and people are obsessed with things like karaoke and going out dancing and line dancing with your family. It's a big part of our culture. Everybody either dances or sings or does both, or some sort of like creative art like that. And it's never really celebrated as a profession. And so growing up, my parents always pushed me towards like, hey, be a doctor, be a nurse, be a dentist. And I'm sure you know the Filipino trope of everybody becomes a nurse, or like, if you're a guy, you're a male nurse. If you're a woman, you're a nurse. Like, it's a stereotype.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And so that was sort of the path that I was treading down. My brother, on the other hand, he didn't exactly push me to go into music school or anything. I mean, I wanted to go pursue some sort of art, whether it was like graphic art or music or something. And he's like, look, like, make our parents happy, like go do the science thing. I mean, it's a hobby of yours. Go do something that you're not good at, but you're naturally good at art. Never lose that. Never lose your creative side. Never stop creating. And maybe one day you could turn it into something lucrative, or maybe you could go into it. It's funny because he actually went to NYU for directing. So he took the path that he told me not to take. And he's like, look, school's bullshit anyway. Like, don't do what I'm doing. I'm literally only doing this to network, but never lose your creative spark. And he's kind of guided me through my, like, for instance, like leaving the professional world into pursuing art. And when everybody didn't think Twitch was going to work for me, or when my family's like, what is that? Like, is that like a cam girl website? Like, what is that? He was like, no, just do it. Like, if your music's flourishing and you're flourishing as an artist, like, keep going. So I owe a lot to him and keeping me on the path of creativity, because I feel like everything and everyone around me was telling me not to do it except for him.
Wow. No, that's amazing. And I can totally relate to that in some ways. I have an older brother, and he's been a huge influence on my life as well. So, that's, I love that answer. Thank you. Now you're kind of already on this topic that leads to the next question I want to ask you. I was on your, watching your stream the other day, just within the last couple of days, and somebody had pointed out and asked you about the tattoo that's on your arm. And you had a really, not a long story, but a really involved story that had a lot of meaning behind it. So would you mind kind of retelling and talking about that for a moment?
Yeah. So this is a piece that I actually got recently. I got it last month. I got it for myself. It's a present to myself. It's my birthday gift.
Nice.
And so it's a woman who's kind of hugging herself, and instead of a head, it's flowers sprouting out of her neck. And the flowers, they're rain lilies. And it's funny because I was kind of like, should I put lilies on my body? I mean, my name's Raquel Lily. I don't know if that's like cheesy or not, but I really like I'm very much into symbolism, and you'll find this in my music too. But in art, I love personification and symbolism. So not only are these flowers living, breathing, humanized form of flowers, artistically, like, I think it looks cool, but also the rain lilies are flowers that sprout out of trauma. And what I mean by trauma is like, if there's like a huge rainstorm or some sort of like geographical trauma like that, and geographical, like a weather trauma, these rain lilies are really abundant. So I like the idea of something beautiful sprouting out of a traumatic event. Wow. And I think for me personally, that speaks a lot to who I am, because I take every time I have a bad day or like go through something traumatic, I write about it, or I write about my experience. And growing up, like, life wasn't easy. I mean, I was an immigrant. My upbringing was not easy. I wasn't blessed with like a rich family at all. Like we struggled a lot. We struggled. Right. And in my interpersonal relationships growing up, as a creative and as just somebody very alternative, I was very misunderstood by my family. I always felt like an outcast. And to this day, being a creative and having pursued creativity for my profession rubs people the wrong way. And unfortunately, it rubs a lot of people in my family the wrong way because they'll, like going back to what I said, especially Asian households, a lot of people don't understand that this is something that is viable and lucrative, and they might want the best out of you, but maybe it's a reflection on them. They're saying, I personally wouldn't do that because I know that like that would fail and that's not a real career. Right. So the whole motif of like the flowers being embraced and this woman, the figure of a woman embracing oneself, it's about self-love. And it's a reminder that you should continue to stay true to yourself and trust yourself. And every time I look in the mirror, this kind of looks at me back, and it's nice because it makes me feel less alone, number one, because it's a reminder that like, hey, you got this for yourself. This is a present to you. And not only does it symbolize all of what you've been through and what trauma you came from. At the end of the day, it's a cool looking tattoo.
Yeah, it actually is in every way. And I just love that the symbolism that you mentioned. And, just like we talked about your music before, is every spot of ink that was put on there, it has a purpose and a meaning. So I love that. Thank you for telling that story. Now, Raquel, to wrap things up, this will be my final question for the interview. When you look back on your entire 5-year Twitch journey, what is the number one thing about that world of experience over 5 years that makes you feel gratitude?
Well, when you forget that these are real life people that are watching you and putting in hours of their life to commit. It's so rewarding to go play a show in a random city that I've never been to, at a venue that I've never stepped foot in, and have people come together and celebrate that with you. And a lot of the times, like me, I grew up really introverted. I'd still say I'm pretty introverted. My job is very extroverted, but that's another thing. But it's really, really cool and inspiring to see people like me come out and say like, hey, like I came by myself and like you brought me out of the house. I've never seen live music, or to inspire somebody to do something brand new. It's a scary thing. But for me to just kind of give them a hand at it, like that to me pushes me to keep doing it. And it pushes me to continue to build this community. Because I do see a little piece of myself in every person that comes out or every person that I meet. I always feel like the community is kind of a reflection of who you are or what sort of personality that you project out into the world. So I just so grateful that I'm able to pursue such a creative and fulfilling life and have people come with me along the way, and inspiring people to be a truer version of themselves, whether it's like going to a show and doing something that they've always wanted to do but never had the courage to, or pick up a guitar for the first time in years. Everything in between. I mean, just the connections that I made with people has been incredible.
No, absolutely. I love that answer. And, what you just said about, your community and everybody being able to be a part of it and being inspired by you're being inspired by them. It's just it's this fulfillment cycle in a lot of ways for everybody involved. So thank you for that answer. Raquel, the thing I'm grateful for is to have been able to watch you and follow you on Twitch. And, I just want to take a moment to acknowledge you for who I see, who is Raquel. So, who I see as a person who cares deeply about everything that you do. You have a passion and an energy that's, it's just unstoppable. And I think most importantly, you're always true to who you are, not just as a creator, but just as a person and as a human being. So Raquel, thank you for being all of that. And thank you for having this conversation with me. It's an honor to be able to include you in this interview series.
Thank you so much for having me. And I hope you guys enjoyed everything. And I hope you guys watch the other episodes because this series is lit. And I hope you continue to do this.
Awesome. Thank you so much, everybody. This is Raquel Lily. My name is Mark, and this is the 206 Twitching It Up interview series. Now, for more information on Raquel, go to RaquelLily.com and look for Raquel on all the social media and music pages, including Instagram, Spotify, and YouTube, just by searching Raquel Lily. Now, thank you for watching. Please subscribe to this channel, hit the like button, and also check out 206.com, which is the official home of all content from the 206. Thank you so much. Be safe, and we'll see you next time.